Okay, thank you very much. I think we can start. I wanted to wait a couple of minutes more to have the opportunity for more people to join. My name is Filippo Dell'Inno. I would like to welcome you all to the fourth event and last event and webinar of the Digi initiative. So welcome from the whole Digi team. I'm very happy to see you. We have big numbers today as well. I know it's an important topic and there are many institutions interested. Today we are dealing with a very peculiar aspect, but I think it's a very, very important one, which is the mentoring mechanism for digital education development in schools and within the education system. Before moving to the introduction of the topic today, I would like just to remind you that Digi is an initiative of the ETF Network for Excellence. I'll just spend you a few words on it. I think by now you are quite well aware of what it is and how to join, but we might have new participants, so it's important that we spend a few words. The ETF Network for Excellence is a network facilitated by the ETF, covering more than 270 centers of excellence from all around the world, mainly from Europe and ETF partner countries, which is Northern Africa, Western Balkans, and Eastern Europe. But I'm very glad to mention that we have now more than 30 centers of excellence from Africa as well. We also have one from Philippines. What do we do? The objective of the ETF Network for Excellence is to facilitate the exchange of expertise in what Centers of Excellence do and how they do it on a number of different thematic areas, but at the same time facilitating and fostering exchanges and networks establishment between the different members of ENE. We have the opportunity for many countries which are members of ENE to participate in frameworks like Erasmus+. So definitely this context is a nice place where to exchange contacts and facilitate the creation of networks for the promotion of projects in the context of Erasmus+. We are active in a number of areas. Of course, DG, digital education, is one of them. Then we have school autonomy, public-private partnership, career guidance, work-based learning, greening, and entrepreneurial central collection. In all of these areas, we have different types of activities. Sometimes we have small groups of centers of excellence who participate to intensive activities. In other cases, we have webinars which are open to all the members. And in any case, all the results of these activities are promoted within the ETF Network for Excellence communication channels, to our open space, our website, and specific publication are of course shared with all the members of ENE. How to join if you are participating to this event but you're not member of ENE is very simple. You can send an email to the address that my colleague Retta is sharing in the chat. It's one institutional address, and then we have the address of our team leader, Manuel Galvin, which unfortunately will not be with us today. And after you ask to participate, we will contact you to have a meeting where we introduce any objectives and how you can participate. And we kindly ask you to participate in our self-assessment tool. Now, to move to our webinar today, as I said before, it's very, very interesting. And the first three webinars, we've addressed specific components of digital education. So the pedagogy, the digital pedagogy, how does it change it from normal pedagogy? The digital teachers competencies, what are they? How to develop them, how to measure them, how to enhance them. And the third one on the digital content. What do we mean by digital content, digital teaching, learning material, how to disseminate, how to share it. After these three first webinars, we wanted to have a final one on moving to a more systemic approach. So there were two main elements we wanted to cover. The first one, how can school integrate all of these elements into a systemic view, a systemic development, digital development approach. And the other topic that we were also interested to cover was how to bring forward innovation in digital education to the whole country. So moving from islands of innovation, which create a gap which is too big with schools which remain backwards. I'm very glad that our friends from STEPS, which is our main partner implementing this project, came out with the idea of presenting this school mentoring model, which really addresses both of these aspects. So really, how can a school focuses on developing their own digital innovation plan and strategy, but at the same time, how can schools, which represents the best practices in the country, can support other schools in moving within the same path. Before passing the floor straight to our speakers today, we'd like to launch a Mentimeter, so to engage with the audience from the beginning. Okay, here are the instructions. You can use the QR code, or you can go to the website. Io la vedo la domanda. So I don't see the questions, but you will see it. Eccolo qua. Which mentoring models and methods for teachers are you familiar with? This is the question. We would like to ask you to reply to it. You might have at this moment different understanding of what are mentoring models. We will have a thorough explanation of this model in the upcoming presentation, but we wanted to see what were your ideas about this type of tools. Don't hesitate if you don't know anyone, like we have an answer, none. It's good that we will provide a very good examples of it. Yes, it's indeed peer learning. We will see afterwards that is much more, it focuses on teachers, it focuses on peer learning, but it's much more solid and much more sophisticated, and it includes very different elements, all integrated. I mean, it's called whole school approach because it really focuses every single aspect that is necessary to develop digital education in schools. Peer mentoring as well. There's a very strong elements of peers discussion and sharing, but it goes beyond it. Yeah, community of teachers. Robbie, please feel free to come in. Roberto is part of the project that is actually implementing this approach, so he knows it much better than me.
Thank you, Filippo, for introducing. My name is Roberto Righi. I work for STEPS, and as Filippo was saying, we collaborate with CTF in this Digi initiative. And yes, one of the objectives of this Breaking the Ice Mentimeter, this was first of all to ask for your participation and to ask for your feedback and to know your learning so far about possible methods and models of mentoring that could facilitate the innovation, especially in from the digital point of view in schools and vocational centers and in general in education. So I'm happy to see that there are some reasonable ways to approach the theme of mentoring methods, and among them peer learning networks, the communities of teachers, and
I like the motivation answer. It's a crucial aspect. It's every time you change, you need to develop new competences. It's additional work. You need to see the results. I mean, the building of the motivation for teachers and for schools is so much important.
Yes, also because when we talk about mentoring in general, it's a matter of voluntary work. So it means efforts, it means helping each other, but it's really rare that mentoring could be financed or funded some way. So it means that it's a kind of facilitation and support that comes from other kind of motivation, by the way. Well, if you want, I think we can
move to. Thank you very much for contributing, and I think we can move to the first presentation. Roberta, you know them very well. You want to introduce them?
Yes. So thank you once again for giving the feedback about the question we put on the Mentimeter. And when we thought about this final webinar regarding the Digi initiative, we thought that during our, let's say, pathway, we touched base with different important topics, digital content, teachers, pedagogies, tools, and so on. So we were trying to cover different aspects of digitizations in education. And but we wanted to give also some inputs to one of the way to facilitate this kind of approach in schools and in training centers, which is based on mentoring methods. So one of the best way was to invite our friends and colleagues who are participating in a European project that is specially devoted to the creation of hubs for mentoring and for helping this kind of educational approaches. So first of all, I would like to give the floor to Kairit Tammets. Kairit is professor of technology and health learning in the Tallinn University in Estonia. She's also part of the School of Digital Technologies and of the Center for Educational Technology. So we were sure that she's the right person now to introduce this topic. Kairit, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this nice introduction, Roberto. Sorry for that. Then I will share the screen myself, right? Yes.
As you prefer.
Yes,
If
I will do
if
that way.
It's fine for you, yeah.
Okay. So as said, I'm from Estonia. I work as a professor of technology enhanced learning in Tallinn University. And among other tasks, I'm also the coordinator of this iHub for Schools project. But my everyday research interest actually is between the field of learning analytics and teacher pedagogical practices and school improvement practices. So I'm interested in to understand how learning technologies can be used, or not only learning technologies, but different type of tools that are enabling certain data collection, how it can be used for improving instructional or school development processes. So I will, in my presentation, mainly focus on that part of the story, because I also have today my colleagues here, and they will take then another part of the story. But maybe
sorry, Kari, we don't see the presentation. We see a loading
sorry.
screen. I don't know if. Let's try it again. Otherwise, we have your presentation, and we will.
Just a second. I will try, because often when I'm showing from Google Drive, then just a second.
I can also share it if you prefer.
So I will make another attempt, and then we see.
Perfect. Now we see.
Now you see.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Are you sure? Because for me it says your screen sharing is paused. You see if I'm.
We see. We
Yes.
see.
Yes, now it's
Okay.
working.
Good. So the starting point of iHub for Schools, when we started working on this idea, was that there's already a fact that technologies have reached the schools, more or less in different schools and areas. And the development of digital competencies for teachers and also students is a national and international priority, which means that there are different visions and policy documents created here and there, which all emphasize how important it is. On the other hand, it was also known by that moment, it was 2020, when we were working on it, that there was this gap between the schools. So while some of the schools are more engaged in, let's say, in systematic activities, so they follow well-developed strategies and they know what this digital innovation means for them and why we are doing it, then the others do it less, or maybe do it, no, let's put it a bit of like what kind of opportunities there are. And then in the iHub for Schools, the aim was that we are coordinating and supporting the creation of sustainable multi-level regional innovation hubs, which are then scaling up this digital innovation. And we were using then some existing networks, and then we had some emerging ones, exactly for this reason, so that this research-based and good understanding of what is digital innovation and what kind of school level practices and teacher level practices there are would be spread also for those who maybe are not that much engaged in the activities of digital innovation. Okay. So that is now the more like administrative part of the project, so that we would understand that we have been actually working together quite a lot of time, and we are in the phase of wrapping up the project, and these are our partners who are been working together with us. So just maybe shortly what we did in the project. So
sorry, Kairit, I think that we are stuck at the first slide. So
no, this is also my understanding that what's happening. As soon as I start sharing, it says
okay, now we see the partners.
But not what we did slide. Maybe it's then better if you will put on the slides, and I can say when it's time to switch the slides. Somehow it's not now working.
Okay, no. No problem. I can share the slide if you want. But now it's working. Project
Now it's
goal.
working. Now it's working. Now we see that you move from slide to slide. So now we are at the project goal.
I am sharing for Kairit, so if she just
Ah,
does the
okay,
next
okay.
slide,
Yeah.
I will.
I was
that's
now
why it's
myself
working.
completely confused.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so you just have to
Okay.
say next slide.
Yes, yes. So if we could go to the slide number 4, what we did. Yeah, exactly. So first we have tried to identify then what does it mean when the school is digitally innovative? What are those aspects that are describing or characterizing it? So that would be just like the state of the situation. Then we tried to understand and been now a little bit further investigated that what are the support mechanisms so that the teacher would be part of the networks and the communities, and what kind of values they perceive when they are part of it, and what do they get out of it, or what is the question, why am I here? Then we proposed the concept of regional innovation hub, so that what are the elements to scale and sustain all of these activities. Then we developed and evaluated a school mentoring model, which will be the part of the next presentation. And then we investigated the experiences of teachers and leaders, and we had almost 600 of them from Estonia, Finland, Georgia, and Lithuania. And then we wanted to understand that if they were part of this mentoring process now, so what kind of changes they perceived in terms of their practices, in their own practices, but in the school level practices, and what were the experiences of the mentors. So this is really shortly what we did in a project. We can move on. So the key elements, at least in my mind, when we are talking about how to support the schools to become digital innovative, is that it should be evidence informed. So the importance of asking questions, where is the development need? What kind of challenges we will solve with the different initiatives? What is the outcome? And for that, we have been working on a toolbox with practices and instruments. Then this whole school approach, as was also mentioned in the earlier, that there should be clear vision on school level. What does it mean for us that we are now going in this direction or that direction? Where is it coming from? There would be, based on that, some effective allocation of the resources. There is a time and opportunities for the teacher professional development. There is a culture of innovation, collaborative culture practices that are supporting the collaboration inside of the school. For that, we have the school mentoring model and methods part of it. And then that at some moment through this mentoring, also the teacher's own competencies are developed, so that these pedagogical scenarios are reflecting this understanding how to integrate the affordances of technologies, principles of learning, and also the content knowledge. And for that, we've been in some of the cases working on innovative pedagogical scenarios. Yes, and we can move on. So shortly, so on one hand, we have this question of why we want the schools to think about what do we need to do and why and where's the gap. And the other approach is now this another part of the right side of the bubble, that we are supporting these social practices, which is part of this this mentoring and elements of leadership, collaborative culture, and pedagogical practices are then these shared objects between them. And then I will more go deeper now with this evidence-informed process, and we can go to the next slide. So why is it for me so important? So I've been working together with the teachers and schools now maybe 10 years in terms of supporting schools to become more digitally experienced and so on. And of course I see, so this is now the generalization from Estonian side, which we all know that is digitally quite innovative and advanced. But sometimes I have this feeling that some of the schools, they're just tending to jump between the programs. We have quite a lot of programs in Estonia targeting schools and teachers to get the infrastructure, training, some sort of digital content and so on, without really thinking that what is the gap now for why we should go in this direction or that direction. And it's not only about the digital innovation, but it's same with the social emotional skills. We have these bullying programs and we have another type of programs, and schools are quite often invited into those. But maybe there is one step need to go one step back and think that what do we really want to do now? What kind of challenge do we have? And then there is this example that I'm quite often bringing because this is the program that is it's called Progediger program, and our schools get opportunities to get a kit or how to toolkit to promote the computational thinking in schools. And the last information that I have is that 87% of Estonian schools have used this opportunity to get the kits. But neither is the state who is giving this opportunity, or neither are the schools thinking that for what we are doing it. Is there a gap in students' motivation? Is there a need to develop with the computational thinking skills? Is there and if quite often what the teachers are saying when we are working together is that that we would like to now use this tool or that tool because the students are not motivated, and we would like to raise their motivation, without thinking that the technology is not the thing that is now really helping to tackle the motivation issues. Actually, the issues are somewhere else. And we need to go back and to understand what might be the reason why teachers feel that students are not motivated. When the leaders are going into these programs and so on, then quite often they don't have this buy-in from the teachers to integrate this certain technology, the teaching and learning, and then this technology is just waiting to be used. And even if there is this willingness from different sides that, okay, we need this toolkit, is there a knowledge now to understand that how we will combine now this computational thinking skills? What are they actually? Now the kit, the understanding of how the students are learning, or this problem solving or something, and what kind of what is then now the effect of different stakeholders. So these are the questions that we would like to understand when we are talking with the schools, and often we understand that this is something that may be not always relevant for them. We can go on. So then how we will support the schools to work with the data. So in our case, there are a variety of data sources that are available for different purposes. Quite easy one is this national level data. We have annual school satisfaction survey, which is 1 year collected from the students, the other year collected from the teachers. So and the figure in the corner with the little bubbles, this is now basically the result of the schools who participated in this school satisfaction survey in terms of changed teaching and learning practices, and how they are now mapped Estonian schools, Estonian Russian schools, and also I see that Peterburi schools. So I don't have at the moment this background for that, but anyway, this is now, and every school gets more in-depth report with their results. Where am I compared to the others, and what are my weaknesses and my strengths? And if a school has this issue that that our students are not motivated, then this is reflecting quite a lot, maybe some of the possible things. Maybe there is something actually in terms of teaching and learning practices that can be a little bit revised. Maybe there is something, some other elements. But before going to now into this, that we need new tools, that's the easiest way to reflect what kind of challenges or development needs my schools have. Then there are schools' self-assessment reports in terms of digital maturity. So we know that the EU level frameworks like Selfie, but several countries, they have localized Selfie or they have developed something else. In Estonia, we have a digital mirror that has been used, and the same with the teacher self-assessment reports on their digital competence. So for instance, Selfie for teachers, and again, is it now adapted from Selfie or is it completely something new? And now this another figure, this more colorful figure, is the result from the Selfie for teacher result, where you can see your strengths and so on. And that is also something, especially with when we're talking about Selfie, that this is the data that is available for the schools, and this can be seen as a nice boundary object to be discussed inside of the school teams. That what is now the situation with our teachers' digital competence, and where we would like to now go, because the construct of digital competence is so broad that it can't be the goal to develop all of these things. But if we now equipped our schools with a new toolkits for computational thinking, then maybe we can take now into the focus of these, I don't know, how is it exactly now in Selfie, because I have this Estonian translation, but something teaching and learning practices, or empowering of the students, or something, and maybe less on professional development, or maybe less with assessment. And we will take it into the school focus and work on that. And another aspect that is more related to my everyday work is this classroom level data collection, that once the students are now really engaged with these new practices that teachers have been trying to try out, then for me it's really important that the teachers would be thinking that what is now the effect of that. And this is also one of the, let's say, sub-case of iHub, because in iHub we mainly focused on these school teams and the mentoring of the school teams and this whole school level approach. But here, when we are talking about classroom level intervention, then there are still more individual teachers. But we wanted them to understand that when you're creating new pedagogical scenarios and try them out, and we support the teachers with the learning analytic solutions. So here you can see in the with the green boxes and so on, that what is now not even, we didn't focus on in terms of the effect of the students, but in terms of this task design, how the students who were interacting with a different level of tasks in terms of problem solving, how the tasks that were more like easier, basic, how they were perceived by the students and what were the results, whereas what the tasks were getting more complicated and complicated in the mathematics, what were the results then, and what kind of things now it makes you think as a teacher. What could be the reason that they are more engaged with the easier tasks and the complicated tasks are more difficult, especially it's the case again in Estonia, where we know that the Estonian students are really good in PISA, but they're really good in these procedural tasks. And when we're talking about more this, so that they would also a little bit able to solve the problems and model and so on, then we have only 10% of the students. But now how to get there, we want the teachers to think about that. So there is a lot of ways how we could support the schools and the teachers to work in terms of this evidence-informed school improvement. So we can go next. And that's now the little summary that from iHub and my earlier practice, that assessment of both teachers' digital competencies and school digital maturity, they need to be meaningful different stakeholders. So that was actually one of the tasks we had in the project, and just for the sake of assessing is not meaningful for them to whom we are working together with. And as I said, that this understanding of this gap and identifying the development needs and all of that, There is need for interventions where the teachers and leaders are taught how to work with this data or different tools or different instruments, and then plan and monitor their own learning. And where these tools are embedded in practice, so then it supports this collective reflection and shared understanding of what are we doing together. So basically, this will be now part of the next step, then how to work with schools and teachers and what kind of interventions there could be. And then this data is just one aspect of it. But in this figure, that this is basically the simple process then how we have been supporting schools to work in different, how to in the problem phase. You're working with the data, like I was showing you, a national survey, whatever, then how the new practices are designed, how then in this teacher-led inquiry, the new practices are implemented and teacher can collect data the way I was showing you, but it can be also paper-based or Google form-based things or just observing the students' results, but that there would be this understanding that sometimes I need to reflect the effect of the new practices to my students. And then this can be all brought again to the school team level that, okay, now we had this investment, we had these new toolkits, we have had some trainings, we have had this interventions in the classroom. So what has been the lesson for us and what should we do next? So that would be this mindset, working with the mindset as well. Okay, I think that was yes, thank you. That was the final slide.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kairit. And of course, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write them in the chat. We will take in charge any questions that you write them, and we will answer, of course. Thank you, Kairit, also for pointing out this kind of assessment tools that can help schools to assess, evaluate their level of digitization and their level of innovation, because this is also one of the features that are characterizing the development project. This is something that we will talk about in the second part of the webinar. But I know that a couple of development projects were, by the way, focused on the implementation of selfies. So I think this is perfectly in line with your presentation. And okay, so now this session continues with another part dedicated to the mentoring methods, and it's introduced by two colleagues from the University of Helsinki. So we don't move to many kilometers far from Tallinn, actually, from the geographical point of view. And Liisa Ilomäki is a professor in education and technology, and she works at the University of Helsinki in the Faculty of Educational Sciences, and she's also involved in the Education Research Group. And Minna Lakkala is a professor in educational psychology at the University of Helsinki, and she's a researcher with experience in teacher training and pedagogical methods, as well as the use of digital technology. Liisa and Minna, the floor is yours, and thank you again for being here with us today.
Thank you, Roberto. And it's very nice to be presenting here our outcomes from this project which Kairit is coordinating. It is always very motivating to be able to speak about that job, which is just right going on. But I would like to say that we are not professors, we are independent researchers. So that is a very important addition. We are experts and good ones, but not professors. Okay, we'll do so that, would you like to say something? Minna?
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
We decided that we share a bit this presentation. So I will start, and then and we do so that Minna will then continue, and then we can again change the speaker. But we are speaking about school mentoring model. And that is now, as Kairit already said, that is part of the work which is created in this iHub project. The school mentoring model consists of 3 parts, as you see in the picture. The conceptual model, which Kairit somewhat spoke about, and then process model for school mentoring, and then individual methods. This is the idea of how we have been now in this project developing mentoring. It doesn't mean that it is the best possible way, but we have tried to create methods, model and methods for supporting how to mentor schools when they want to promote the use of digital technology in their for their best practices. First of all, what is then mentoring? The aim is to support the mentees or mentees to their deep level professional learning and development. It is important to notice that there is mentees who we are speaking about. So we are not in this process, we have not been mentoring one individual teacher, but we are mentoring schools, teacher teams or whole schools, and that is very important part. It's also important to understand that there is both professional learning, which refers to the whole school learning, and then the development, which refers also an individual one. So there are always the both levels, individual level and then at the school level. Participants in mentoring are usually from 1 to a small group. The process is in mentoring that mentees learn by somehow personal guidance, models and also reflection. It is very mentee-centered approach. So it is not like, for instance, training on a big course. And also it is a longitudinal process. The outcomes are new practices, not only like new information, but also that those who are mentees, they learn to use different practices. By the way, we will submit mentoring guidelines as an ebook probably in autumn. And so what we are speaking about now is part of that book. It will also be a deliverable of this process. Some principles then about mentoring. One important issue is the first thing. Schools should genuinely benefit from mentoring and the development activities. And schools and teachers are those who define the needs for themselves. It is not a top-down approach in this sense. Second issue is that the implementations of digital innovation in school does usually not take place without external support. That is often noticed in research because it requires also changing of pedagogical practices, not only like learning a new technical application. The third issue is that teacher collaboration and peer learning are the effective means to develop teachers' practices, but they also need good examples, best practices, scenarios, and models. The fourth thing is that mentoring should be based on evidence on teachers' current digital skills and pedagogical practices. That is what Kairit was explaining about this evidence info, as well as the status of the school. And of course, the effect of mentoring must be also evaluated in realistic and honest way. So what we have created is this process model. We can divide it into 2 parts. First is that work which will be done at before school level activities. First thing is the initiative for learning and development. Where does it come? It might come from the school, it might come from the local administration, it might come from the research, as here in iHub project. Then there have to be an anchoring meeting with the key stakeholders, so that all those who are participating in the process, the key persons, they are engaged in it, they are motivated, and they can agree on the process. That has to be very clear, that those who are in parting into that, they agree and they have they share the ideas. Then at school, what should be the next in this process is that there have to be a joint planning with the teachers, and so that they learn to know what kind of possibilities there are for their learning, what kind of practices they could have, how will the mentoring process organized, and so on. Similarly, as in the second part, anchoring meetings with the key stakeholders. So also in the third phase, it's important that the teachers get inspired and get interested in the project. If they are not wholly motivated, that is understandable, but they have to get a feeling of the idea. Then the fourth step is mapping joint learning and development aims and needs. That is also somewhat related to Kairit's about evidence informed. So what do we know in our school? What do the teachers know? What kind of aims they have? What should be known more? Such kind of a realistic attitude to the situation today. And then the fifth is acquiring new perspectives. For instance, peer learning, those issues which were mentioned in the first Menti interactive practice, actually. They can be peer learning, they can be job shadowing, or they can be training, different types of ways of getting new ideas for own teaching. Usually it requires that teachers go out from their own school. Then the sixth is different collaborative actions. There might be, for instance, teacher teams who decide together to make a new plan, how they continue using ICT tools, or the collaborative action might be a joint event for parents about how digital technology will be taken in our school, and so on. So what are those collaborative actions which teachers as a whole take in the school, or teams? It's not only like what the individual teacher does alone and not showing to anyone. And then there is the reflection. What did we get? How did it go? Is there something else that we need? Do you want Minna to add something? No. Okay. If you turn down. Okay, in this project we have created individual methods for practical actions in schools, because the partners who participated in this project, they had, of course, a very good understanding from previously about how to support schools. So on the left there are those issues that come from previous ones, like the Digipeda workshop, a very short process, or future school, evidence-informed school improvement, teacher innovation laboratory, teacher inquiry to student, and so on. They can be short ones or longitudinal one. And then on the right, there is the list of those method descriptions which we have developed during this project, because in this project, the countries had cases, and within those cases, the participants developed this mentoring model and also these methods, like measuring teachers' digital competence. Very often also use this selfie questionnaire, a survey, or methods combining training and e-learning, how to collaboratively design and reflect pedagogical practices, and so on. So I don't go through this list, but as you see, we have developed quite many such kind of effective methods for mentoring. Here is one example of how to use the methods in this mapping development needs. Here on the left, down on the left, mapping the joint development needs. What kind of possible methods we could use? We can have frameworks for mapping development needs. So we like idea what in the framework, the idea is a kind of ideal model, like innovative digital school. What should it consist of? Or Digi Edu, or digital mirror framework. These are existing frameworks. Or there can be practical methods for mapping development needs. And these methods are, for instance, Digipeda workshop or future school evidence-informed school improvement or inquiry practice method. Or there can be digital tools and instruments for mapping these development needs, like Selfie or Theta tool, Selfie for teachers, school-owned instruments, or there can be also national instruments. For instance, in Finland, we have a series of such instruments, and in Estonia, there's digital mirror. In phase 6, these development actions, such kind of possible methods to use are, for instance, these practical methods which are concentrating either on whole school, like school industry collaboration, or digital acceleration program, or then such kind of methods which focus on teacher teams, like collegial tutoring, teacher innovation laboratory, development projects, teacher inquiry into student learning, in-service teacher training, and lesson study. So we have all these which we have here in this process, all these different steps. We have also a quite good variety of practical methods.
Okay, I explain a bit more detail two methods so that you get a concrete idea what we mean by these methods. So for instance, this is an example of a workshop that we organized actually in one Finnish case when we started mentoring 2 schools and their collaboration. This is a 1.5-hour workshop, and the idea for this is to use it in the phase 4, mapping development needs, and it can also be used in the last phase, reflection. So first, we introduced in the workshop the model of innovative digital school based on our previous research. And then we gave teacher teams this kind of template that included these theory-based elements. And they wrote in the teams issues that they think what practices are good in our school already, what practices could be improved, and so on. And then at the end of the workshop, the results were summarized, and based on that, we had further development actions with the leadership team of the school. So this is one example of individual method that can be used in one phase or 2 phases of the mentoring process. Here is a picture of the innovative digital school model. If you get these slides, you can later look at it if you are interested. So these are the main elements of the template where the teachers evaluated their school. Another example relates to more to this kind of teacher level practices. You wrote in the Mentimeter about this peer learning and such issues. So this relates to similar practices. So a collegial tutoring model is meant for 2 teachers where the more experienced teacher can support a less experienced teacher in sort of everyday, sort of as part of everyday school practices. So here is the process of the collegial tutoring. So the idea here is that it is more structured than just teachers discussing between the lessons, that how do you do it and can you help me somehow, but systematically going through the sort of more experienced teachers' practices. There is this orientation where the tutor teacher tells about his or her good practices or shows something, how she or he does it, organize lessons and organize project-based learning with digital tools or something like that. And then there's a first meeting where the tutor teacher helps the tutor teacher to make a plan. for her or his own teaching. And the tutor teacher improves the plan, and then they have a second meeting where they go through the plan, and the tutor can help the tutor teacher to what to do with this and what tool to use and how to organize this. And then there's this supported implementation of the design. So that it can be so that the tutor teacher participates in the classroom even, but that's not necessary. They can organize it in the school practice however they like. And then there's a final discussion about how did it go and how to improve. So these kind of practices can be implemented in school. For instance, that every teacher now and then works as a tutor teacher for somebody who knows less about something, and they can organize these practices. And here's an example of this kind of what kind of support there can be. So very concrete template for the tutor teacher to plan his or her teaching. And also guidelines about the final discussion. So these slides here are examples of the material that we have produced in the iHub for Schools project. So quite concrete guidelines for mentors, how to organize these kind of practices and how to help schools use these kind of individual methods to improve their practices. So then we will show you one example of the whole mentoring process that we have organized here in Finland for two elementary schools. So we followed this process model that Lisa explained in quite sort of strictly, but in the same time developed it. So we had two elementary schools who collaborated together for developing their digital practices, and they were schools whose premises are close to each other. The first one is a Finnish-speaking school, a bit bigger but very small school still, and another was a Swedish-speaking school. So there were also these two languages as a challenge for the teachers to collaborate. So what the teachers the school selected as the development goals. Practical implementation of the city's new digital path framework. So they had a task to promote students' competencies through using this kind of digital path framework that was provided for schools. And another goal was to increase collaboration between these two schools. So we have linked here in the slides a Finnish New Literacies Program website that comes from the Finnish National Agency for Education to promote students' digital competence and the digital path related to that. So how the process then went? Yeah, we were the mentors in this process. So we worked as researchers, but also mentors of the school. So we started by contacting the ICT teachers and principals, and they were aware of the similar process that we had with two other schools. So they were also interested in starting something similar. And they had this digital path requirement from the city. So that happened in the spring 22, and then next autumn we had a concrete meeting with the sort of the leadership team. So we had this kind of coordination teams from both schools with the principal and the teacher who had a role to support other teachers in digital practices. And we had this kind of anchoring meeting where we decided how to continue. And then we had this kind of joint planning meetings, a bit more concrete with the coordination teams after we had decided that they will participate and they understood what's going to happen in up level. So we had a a meeting where we went through in a more practical method. So way what is possible and what they would like to have. And we introduced the experiences from the mentoring process of the two previous schools, which made it much more easy to then plan this new process with these two schools. And then we had, in this phase of mapping development needs, we didn't use here in any service or such because the schools didn't want that. They were quite aware that they needed to implement this DigiPath framework, and they had quite good understanding about what are the challenges of the teachers and what is needed. But we introduced the mentoring project and this process progression idea in teacher meetings of both schools, because it was important that all teachers know what is going on and they can start thinking what is sort of required of them and what they would like to have themselves from this project. And then after these teacher meetings, we had another meeting with the coordination teams where we decided these concrete aims about implementing DigiPad and then collaboration between schools. And we start planning the first workshop that will be organized for teachers. And this workshop is sort of an example of this individual method, how to then do this in the schools, and how we mentors can help organizing practices where the teachers participate. So this phase, acquiring new perspectives, there was, before the workshop, all teachers got a task to familiarize themselves with the DigiPad framework and choose 2 themes that they want to implement in their own teaching, and then start thinking about the pedagogical design or the pedagogical scenario. How would they do it? For instance, if they want to teach some computational thinking for their students, or teach them to search for information from the web and evaluate the sources critically, how to design a lesson or a project where students can practice this. And then we, as a development and collaboration action, we had this joint workshop for all teachers of these 2 schools. So the 2 schools collaborated all the time in this, and during that workshop, teachers created these written pedagogical ideas, and then they discussed these ideas in grade level teacher teams, where both Swedish and Finnish-speaking teachers were in the same team. And all ideas were shared, and they are all the time available for all the teachers. So then we had a next spring, or this spring, we had after the workshop, we had a meeting with the coordination team where we evaluated the workshop outcomes and planned the second workshop. So we as mentors supported these leadership teams all the time to think about what to do next, what do you think about this, how to continue the process. And then we decided to have a second workshop, and again the teachers had instructions to modify their written pedagogical scenarios based on experiences. The idea was that between these 2 workshops, they try something in the classroom. They implement their design, or at least learn themselves something new that helps implementation later.
I just wanted to tell about the first picture where on the left, that in this second workshop, we had also 2 teachers explaining what kind of issues they had been doing already, because teachers don't share publicly very often what they have been doing. And this teacher was from the Swedish-speaking school, and he explained what he had done about fake news and information, kind of criticizing information. And another teacher, a young lady, told about what kind of practices she had with very small first and second year students when they made animations. So we also wanted to kind of share get such kind of open atmosphere where teachers tell to other teachers what they have been doing.
Yes, so this second workshop was quite similar with the first one, but there was these two presentations first that Lisa told about. That it was a bit astonishing for me, for instance, that the other teacher was quite of shy to tell about her own practices to all teachers. We thought that it's a regular practice that teachers share what they do, but that is not the case. So it was, I think, very useful for the presenter and the teachers who got new ideas from the presentation. So after these presentations, the teachers again went into these grade level teams, and they went through their pedagogical designs, these scenarios that they have written and improved, and shared experiences, what went well and what didn't go so well, and how to improve. And then they started to discuss that the two teachers can collaborate so that the fifth graders come and help third graders to do some videos or something like that. So quite small time, 1.5 hour workshop, but we thought that they managed to do quite a lot with this short time. Okay, then there was this reflection phase that is actually just finished. So we had a coordination team meeting again, where we evaluated with us mentors and the coordination teams together the outcomes of the process and discussed about the continuation. Then we have had also related to this iHub for Schools project, a survey for all teachers, and we have interviewed the coordination teams. And then we, as mentors, have packaged the pedagogical scenarios. We have edited them somewhat and chosen the sort of finalized ones and made a slide set where they can be shared between the schools, but also in the digital path repository of the city. So there will be some sort of outcomes to share for wider audience also. And then there will be next steps. We discussed them a bit with the coordination teams. We will go back to the schools and we'll have a meeting with the coordination teams again and discuss so what has sustained and what is going to happen next school year related to these development actions. This is one example of a pedagogical scenario. There were about 20-30 of these produced in total. This is one, so video production in groups. So the idea is that the teachers write quite concretely how they did it, and then other teachers can follow these ideas and implement something similar if they want.
Yes, and wasn't it so that we have about 20 such kind of small
20-30.
Yeah, but it's all together with the 4 schools, about 30. Then a few, no, Minna, this was also about,
okay.
No,
So
I can speak about it. About the outcomes, which we did interviews for the coordination teams. So what they regarded as achievements in these 2 schools. First of all, teachers are more aware of DigiPath content and what is expected from them. And in addition, teachers are much more confident to use digital technology. They all had some basic understanding, but maybe they were afraid of taking new applications. Then achievements were also these practical ideas which Minna just showed. A kind of group pressure also to try something in classroom between the workshop. Not only like, okay, we continue as we like, but because there was a process going on, they had a pressure to do something. And very important in all these 4 schools, but also in these 2 was the good starting point for collaboration between schools. Faces are familiar now. Schools don't actually collaborate too much, and especially in different languages. It is easier to discuss digital issues and ask help when you know the others and what they know. It is also important that we focused on something essential and concrete, what they had to do, this Digi part of the local school administration. We helped them to get familiar with that, and we also used effectively time, I mean also Teams. It turned out better than if we had done it by ourselves, as the team members said. And it was practical enough, clear assignments for teachers and useful for everyone's own work. Okay, some general remarks about mentoring these schools. Then these previous ones came from the coordination team, which we have been mentoring. But then if we kind of raise to the next level, so what are important issues? Changes in schools are slow, and schools do not have much resources, personal or joint time, to allocate in one development area, for instance, digital technology. And mentoring should respect that and take into account that. In these 4 schools, the development work was coordinated by the coordination teams. So one coordination team always for 2 schools, and they were responsible for the school level activities. And that responsibility supported their role in school also in a good way. And they also learned something about mentoring other teachers. And because the responsibility was very much in schools, we think that the development actions serve the schools, and they are more likely to lead to permanent changes. We also maybe noticed some such issues that they didn't do. For instance, reflection was not always taken place, and we would have maybe added it, but it is better to have the responsibility on school. And a collaboration between the 2 schools was one goal in the both cases. So the coordination teams had always joint meetings with the mentors, so that always those from 2 schools and also teacher workshops were organized jointly between 2 schools. I remember, Minna, that there was once something that one school said that we would like to have something our own, but we didn't start that at all. We had all the time, the 2 schools together. Some other conclusions. One important issue for mentoring is that there are no standard solutions or models to follow with every school. This process model has a kind of ideal steps which we suggest to follow, but because the situations vary and change, so the mentoring has to be adjusted in a flexible way. I think that we think for sustainable changes, mentors should be active in the beginning. They should have a kind of map in their mind what should be going on, but they should gradually fade away their support so that the responsibility is in the school. In Finland, digitality is not anymore an issue, but however, the use of it and in pedagogical practices is a sensitive issue to many teachers. As Minna said, one of these teachers was very shy to show it to others. Teachers are not used to be evaluated by others. They are used to be the adults in the classroom. Like they were, maybe they were afraid that their practices are not good enough or something. Teachers do not have time to learn new technologies or to try some beta versions unless it is not organized. So we suggest that such kind of new pedagogical tools or approaches are well organized. Otherwise, teachers just waste their valuable time. One of the key issues is, of course, the principal. And if he or she organizes time and resources for the teachers to participate, then we win very much. And in all these schools, teachers were very good, principals were very good and active ones. And the last thing maybe, teachers' time for adoption innovations vary. There are pioneers who start even before should be started, and then there are those ones who come slowly and have a lot of thoughts, maybe not participating, and that have to be accepted, and that is how it goes. Minna, is there something that you would like to add still?
No, nothing special. I think that this mentoring has been we have learned a lot ourselves about how schools work and how maybe some development work can be achieved slowly and gradually, but respecting the school's sort of everyday life and its challenges.
Yes, this was now a very quick introduction also to the school mentoring model guidelines, which we will be publishing, but such kind of theory-based practical approach to this issue. If you want to contact us, there was Minna very quickly showed our emails, maybe you can get them later on, but thank you very much for this possibility of telling our approach.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. It was super rich, both the theoretical part and the tangible examples. The webinar is recorded, so for anyone who's interested to actually get your contacts, they will be saved within the context of the webinar, and they can of course re-watch or share the links of this webinar with colleagues and people outside. I think we will now. We have posted on the chat a link to Jamboard. Roberto, you want to?
Yes, I was inviting the participants to write their feedback about well, their knowledge, first of all, if they had the chance to know some other mentoring methods rather than those that were presented today. And once again, thank you, Liz and Minna, for their presentations also of the practical examples, because it's important to provide some real life concrete instances of how a school can apply these models and methods that were ideated, that were created. So I think it's very useful. And also the very last slides were very important in my opinion, because they provided some information about strong and critical aspects of this kind of approaches, so people can learn, and it's important to have a lesson learned from which we can start to apply our plans, let's say. And also at the same time, you can post your needs, your challenges, what kind of challenges you think you have in general when it's about applying digital innovations in teaching and learning. I don't want to force you, of course, with any kind of way to do it, but I'm sharing the screen in order to show you how it works. So as you may see, we have split the screen into columns, and the best way to write is with post-it. So on the left side you have this box. The fourth one from the top is the sticky note. So you can write, for example, that one of the challenge would be the school leadership involvement. So you just have to write here and save, and then you have your sticky note here. So you don't have to write anything directly in the board. So you just have to imagine that this is one of these boards that you can find in the classroom, but you can use Post-it to write your thoughts, to write your suggestions, and stick them in the screen, in this case, of course, virtually in the screen. So if you want to provide your feedback, your suggestions, also your needs, because maybe there is something that we, as also European Training Foundation, can do for helping you, of course, in terms of training, in terms of giving recommendations and so on. These webinars and the Digi initiatives are responding also to this kind of needs. So of course, feel free to use the board and write something and give suggestion. I think that in any case we are done with the very first part of the webinar, which was devoted to the presentation of the examples given thanks to the iHub for School project. So thanks again to Kairit, Lisa, and Minna. But I think they will be still here with us. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And of course, you can use the board also for asking your questions. And
Robbie, there was a set of questions from one participant.
okay.
The first one, I've noticed that the word selfie in relation with teachers being used twice. So they would like to make sure that they understand the concept. Then to what extent is the teachers involved in their self-assessment? And the third one is that the presenter pointed out the fact that schools do not collaborate much. And can you please suggest tips for more collaboration between schools? So
I guess that
Mina raised a hand, probably ready to answer.
yeah, please, Minna.
Yes, thank you for the questions. First, about this selfie, I wrote in the chat an answer. So European Union provides 2 survey tools that schools can use in European languages, all European languages. There's selfie, which is meant for whole schools, teachers, students, and principals answer, and then it gives us sort of a general overview of what's going on in the school, and there needs to be a coordinator who initiates the survey. Then there's a quite new tool, selfie for teachers, that each teacher can individually use and go and answer and reflect on their digital practices. So that is why we just talked about selfie, because quite many in Europe know these tools already. And in some of the cases in our projects, the partners used selfie for teachers in the mentoring cases, where the teachers really answered themselves, and based on that, they planned what kind of mentoring and development actions they will have in the schools. But anybody can go and use selfie for teachers by themselves.
And then there was the question about how to support the schools' collaboration. That is a good question. And in research, it said that quite seldom schools start such kind of development activities without any external support. And like getting such a feeling that, okay, now we go to another school and visit. So that might be difficult. But school visits, which, for instance, the coordination teams or principals start to organize, is one possibility. But anyway, such kind of like one individual teacher very seldom has possibilities to kind of help whole school. Teacher visits, school visits, but also we have got good results when we have picked in other projects, where we have picked materials and teachers together in teams, even in online training, get familiar with those models. So there are possibilities like showing them what others do. That is the most important. It is as well important to see pedagogical practices from net than only like going somewhere. If the school visit is not well organized, it means just like having a cup of coffee and going around the school, and it doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, regarding survey for teachers, I think the interesting element is that a very good introductory tool for teachers to try to understand where they stand versus digital teaching and learning practices, because it's a self-assessment where the results are only provided to the same teacher. So there's no forms of evaluation. The results are not public. These are not the results that the school and the ministry uses for other purposes. It's a conscious choice, because it would have been useful to have the results of the teacher's results of the teacher's assessment, so that maybe you can develop like continuum development training. But the decision was, if you put it like that, the results are public, then it's more difficult to have a very honest analysis from teachers. So if for schools where teachers haven't really started engaging in digital teaching and learning, selfie is a good tool. It's a good tool. It's only for themselves. They don't have to be scared of any form of evaluations. I would like to take the opportunity to underline just one aspect. The presentation was super rich. I mean, there would be thousands of different areas to underline. I think the most interesting is that even when you have examples like Finland and Estonia, which are probably two of the best countries in the world in the process of digitalization in education, you can still perceive they have the same issues as any other countries. Teachers don't like to be evaluated. They don't feel at ease. They've built the expertise in 20 years. Changing pedagogy doesn't make them feel at ease. They don't have time. It's additional work. Schools don't cooperate. I mean, even in the countries where really you have the most success in this area, the process is low. Again, teachers, you have innovators, you have people who needs a bit more time, and then you have a small share that just don't change, and then you would have to wait out for their retirement. I mean, it's not that those two countries have completely different contexts. It's the same. It's just being consistent in trying different ways and models and practices of how to improve things, and making sure that the cases of best practice don't remain isolated. So bringing in also the other schools. That's why this mentoring approach is so interesting. Minna, please.
Lisa, what I would like to emphasize is that the recent research supports very much such kind of schools as learning organizations, where we emphasize the school and not the individual teacher or 2-3 pioneer teachers. There has been a lot of research also that if we focus only on a few teachers, it doesn't spread through the school. So that is very important, new kind of thinking. Instead of teaching one teacher, we should support the school entity. And that is the reason why we also in this iHub project, we focus on mentoring schools instead of mentoring individual teachers. And I think that research which comes from schools as learning organizations is very important background for mentoring.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last element I wanted to underline is, even in the presentation was highlighted, just to focus on one item at a time. I mean, because in any case, the time is limited. They need to focus on what they want to develop. And if you focus on too many things, you won't manage to have results. I think even in the best projects with additional resources, with external experts, still you have to be realistic with the objectives that you set for schools and teachers. Robbie, don't have access to currently to the board. Do you?
I think that it should be shared with everybody. So it should be enough if you click on the link in that we put in the chat. But in any case, it was just an invitation to leave the feedback and to give some spontaneous, let's say, suggestions or needs that people wanted to underline. Maybe we can have 5 minutes break now, if you agree, so we can afterwards go on with the presentation of the development project situation. Do you?
Yep, thank you very much. We can use the results in the chat on the board for the second discussion, and I would break for 5-10 minutes. Let's say, what time is it? It's 31. Let's say at 22:02 we come back.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much again for all the very important input in this first part of the webinar.
So see you in 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Deep and sorry everybody because I was coughing in the meantime, and well, I want to be as short as possible because I prefer to give floor and time to our representatives of the 4 selected development projects. But anyway, I'm just sharing the screen now, and just wanted to recall about the main features of our development projects part of the Digi initiative. And so, as we were underlying since the beginning, we were organizing thematic webinars in order to spread awareness, to give some tips, to provide contributions and interesting information about digital pedagogies, digital content and tools, teachers' digital competencies, and finally about mentoring methods. In the meantime, the development projects were trying to elaborate using the tips, using the tools and the methods that we were giving to them side by side, let's say, and some innovative ideas to pilot and to specifically adopt some tools, some approaches, some methodologies for all these selected center of excellence. So these were the thematic areas that I just reminded, and these small initiatives were taking place in order to, let's say, foster innovation, at least giving small steps, but at least showing that some changes could happen. So we were trying to share good practices. We were trying, of course, also to give these examples of mentoring and of working together. I think also the presentations that we have listened to today were exactly one of these tools that we were providing to development projects, and not only to them, in order to show how other schools, other similar training centers have done in order to foster innovation. And and these were the keywords that we were thinking about that should be very important when developing this kind of projects. So collaboration, participatory approach, having an open mind, and learning by doing. Of course, that means maybe sometimes doing mistakes, doing errors, but most of all, to evaluate the errors and try to improve after that. And of course, active commitment, great motivation. As Filippo was saying, there was no specific funding for this project, but there were some, let's say, resources, materials that we were putting at disposal in order to help. At the end, we had development projects from this country, so from Moldova, from Azerbaijan, from Georgia, from Mozambique, and from South Africa. So we have asked our representatives from these countries, from this organization in these countries, to participate in the webinar today and to provide some very small description of what they've been doing in the last months, and most of all, if there was a kind of change after the adoption of this approach, of these methodologies. And we also tried to do our best to help this change, providing also what we call the learning pills. So they were very practical short workshop lasting 1 hour, maximum 1 hour and a half, during which we were targeting specifically the theme or the topic that the development projects were interested in. And so, for example, we organized learning pills about digital innovative school, about the example of Europeana, which is this huge repository database created at European level with, among them, also learning scenarios that could be helpful for education. So, the idea, also the assessment of digital readiness of teachers and schools through selfie. So we wanted to target the specific needs of the development project representative with this very short training that could be facilitating then the implementation of their activities. All the development projects also were asked to keep a diary. So they were including all the activities, all the results that they were achieving during these months, and with all the implementation stages. So this will be the basis for a final publication, for a final deliverable that we will work on in the next weeks, and hopefully will be ready, I would say, after the summer, with all the results of the development projects that were implemented. So these are the areas, but I think that this is something that we can hear directly from the protagonists of the projects, and these are the time plan that we had created since the beginning. So the kickoff is related to the beginning of the Digi initiative, when we launched all these development projects idea, and then the 4 thematic webinars that we have described so far. And these, once again, are the topics that were interested by the organizations that participated in the project. So as you may see, we have innovative pedagogical approaches, we have selfie, once again, we have the use of Europeana in order to use the digital repository for educational purposes, and so on. So, okay, I tried to be as short as possible. Yes.
No, I just wanted to underline, I think it's important that all these pills were recorded and that they are on our open space. The links have been posted in the chat because these were open only for the development project. So now I think everybody can join if they want to have a look at the specific webinar. There were not there was no interpretation, but they've been recorded in English. So this is something that some of our participants, I just wanted to underline it.
Yes, thank you. And this is very important because this is something that can be considered a kind of open resource that everybody can access to. Thank you for that. So this was just the introduction. Then I would ask in order to begin with our first presenter, which is Sergiu from Moldova. I saw him before. Yes, he's here. If he wants to start with his presentation about the development project in Moldova. Please, Sergiu.
Да, здравствуйте всем. Я хотел бы в первую очередь сказать спасибо. Слышно меня? Да. Хотел сказать спасибо.
First of all, I would like to thank everybody for opportunity to present my story, opportunity to perform the project, because with your help, we managed to achieve very good results. Our project lasted for 1 year. In the beginning, we selected the participants from our quality is low. I cannot hear him properly. And we had several experiences. We tried to understand how to do it properly, how to develop digital competencies and digital skills. We tried to understand which digital competencies we need to implement, which will help to our teachers to develop new pedagogical materials and to use them for all colleagues of the developers. With the help of our students, we started to develop a database of materials which will be used in next year to teach various disciplines. We had very interesting experience, and results also were interesting. Actually, the level of results was higher than we had expected. At the end of the project, we organized a competition where each student presented his materials and spoke about his own ideas. It was very interesting for us to see how our students have offered new methods of teaching. Meaning new measures of teaching. After we expose our students for a new topic, we build it as a context gameplay. And we then listen to our students, and they have shown us kind of interactive lesson.
Okay.
Хорошо.
Sorry, I had to change from the petition. Thank you very much, Sergio. I think that this deserves just a few words also from my side. I was especially interested in this development project. The engagement of students in developing teaching material is something very new. There's historically a barrier between the teachers and the students, teachers delivering education and the student absorbing education. So, and this is a clear barrier between the two. Moldova, historical context in the education system had an even stronger barrier. So I was very interested to see this type of proposal coming from Moldova. I was delighted. I was there when the competition took place. The results were very interesting. Different software used, very engaging. I think this could be really a step in the right direction. Also, in terms of utilizing students to build up a national repository of digital teaching material, which is particularly important in Moldova, which has a lack of it. Of course, you have the quality assurance role of the teachers, but I would say that when I was there, I saw both students and teachers very motivated. So again, we would like to thank Sergio for this proposal and for letting us experiment with him.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for summarizing the main aspects of your project. Now let's go on, and I will ask Constantine from Georgia, from the university in Georgia, if he can take the floor. I know he has also a presentation to share. Please, Constantine.
Yes. Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. Let me just share my presentation. Okay. Is it visible?
I think there is a connection problem because we don't hear you very well.
Okay.
But we can see the presentation.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I think it's better.
Yeah. Can you hear my voice? Some problem with the presentation and the voice together. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
we can hear you, and if you have any problem, we can share the presentation.
Okay. I don't know, the voice went off when I opened the presentation, but can
now
you
it's
see
fine.
the presentation?
Now it's fine.
Now it's fine. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Great. So, 1 second. So let me begin with small introduction. It's a College of Media and Television Arts. Basically, what we teach here is journalism and all the related subjects. Our college is quite old, about 30 years already. It was first established during the, it was still a Soviet era here, so it was one and only college that provided materials and teaches the journalism in Georgia. So how did we start and why we implemented the project? Because the specification of our college is learn by doing. And during the pandemic, we faced distance learning, and our teachers were not prepared for that. So we analyzed we started to looking for a solution and come across your organization, and let me just change it. Okay. Here what we did is that we didn't have a visual and digital material for online teaching, so the Europeana really came handy for us. So During the online teachings, because of our lecturers were not prepared for that, it was not very interesting. So lots of students did not attend the online courses. So we decided to collect the visual materials to train our teachers to present a more content-rich, to have a more rich classes, online classes. And they took a training about how to use the Europeana, how to search the material, and then started to implement this visual material in their online classes. Okay. So what were the results after it? It was much interesting for a student. More students attended and listened to these online courses, and it was. And we still do it, even though the pandemic is over and we came back to the campuses. We still provide this visual material in classrooms as well. And I just want to mention that we also have online TV production. It's like a parachute, we call it, where the students implement different short videos. It may be a commercial, it may be a documentary films, and this visual material came quite handy for them. And like I said, this kind of a small project they do during this parachute workshop. The teachers, when we train them how to use the Europeana, also explained it to the students. And now the materials the students provide for the parachute and for their seminars became also more rich, and they have more access. They have access to more visual materials. Yes. Well, that's actually what I just spoke about. And yeah, it's a kind of a small presentation because basically what we do is teach by doing things. Yes. Okay, you can hear me, yes?
Yes, we can. Yes, yes, you can go.
Yes, yes. So, well, actually, it was quite short what I just presented because there's only Europeana that we implemented. As you know, I was getting this project quite late, so that is the presentation I have at the moment. Yeah. I don't have a diary to show you with me at the moment.
Okay, there's no need. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your input. Indeed, I mean, there's been a transfer of responsibilities within the there is thank you very much. So there has been a transfer of responsibility. So Konstantin has taken over lately. So we thank you very much for his wrapping up of the results. I think Europeana, for those of you who don't know it, it's a very, very beautiful and powerful tool that's been developed in the context of the European Union. There is a specific learning pill delivered by steps on it, so that you can, if you want to investigate, you can access the learning pill. Robbie, up to you.
Okay, oh, thank you again, our friend Konstantin, who, as you said, was involved only in the last months. So I think he was able anyway to summarize all the work done and to underline once again the efficiency of this database also for educational purposes, not only as a mere repository of cultural heritage, let's say. And okay, now I think it's turn of Bridget Anwi from Humana, and She will present the results from two schools in two countries, in Mozambique and South Africa, who are implementing the selfie tool, but she will tell us more. Please, Bridget.
Hi, thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you. I was just going to ask you to share our presentation. That looks perfect. So thank you for ETF and STEP for inviting Umana people to people to share our experiences in the digitalization of learning. If we could have the next slide, please. Umana People to People is an international network of 29 local NGOs, all working towards the sustainable development of vulnerable communities. And our development programs reach over 15 million vulnerable people across sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, Asia on an annual basis. Education is at the core of our mission, and Umana's member organizations run a total of 16 private TVET schools in rural areas of sub-Saharan Africa. And today in our session, we'll be focusing on the work of two vet schools of our member organizations, namely IP Nakala and Mozambique Connect from South Africa, which are part of the Digi initiative. Next slide, please. So first, I'd like to introduce the Polytechnic Institute of Nakala in Mozambique. It is an institute of vocational technical education, which was founded in 1994 by ADPP in Mozambique, and is dedicated to the training of young people with a view to the social and economic development of Mozambique. The mission of the school is to provide young people with the technical knowledge that can help them to overcome the current challenges of the country's development through training of qualified labour and to respond to the demands of the labour market, and also through the promotion of social entrepreneurship. The vocational schools offer training, a wide variety of trainings in agriculture and livestock, business management, construction and hospitality and tourism, and have an annual capacity of 300 students. The school centres also offer short courses which are tailor-made for training and entrepreneurship programs for local communities and young people. Next slide, please. In South Africa, the Connect is an associated TVET school in partnership with Umana People to People South Africa. Connect has 22 years of experience in vocational training for development professionals in the area of KwaZulu-Natal. I apologise for my pronunciation there. And also provides government-approved training for early childhood development professionals. The college aims to provide high-level skills training, theoretical practice skills that are linked to specific industry requirements, as well as vocational training. As a further education training college, Connect is accredited to provide courses in early childhood development, level 4, and further education and training certificate in community development management of level 4. Connect also has a long tradition of outreach activities in communities around the school. Furthermore, all of the programs at Connect include work integrated training that targets the needs of South African communities specifically. This training equips students with a practical approach combined with a theoretical understanding to create both development in and with the local communities. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to talk about our work within the Digi group, and more specifically to focus on how we started the project. Next slide, please. So we began by carrying out a needs analysis in 4 areas, which were the following: content and tools, teachers' competencies, mentoring methods, and digital pedagogies. Next slide, please. But before I talk about the results of the analysis, I think it's really important to highlight the issues that are hindering the digitalization, of sub-Saharan Africa. These include a lack of funding, shortage of availability of high-speed internet through broadband and mobile connections, as well as necessary skills to inspire the take-up of the 4th Industrial Revolution technologies. We also noticed that affordability is an issue, since many potential users are simply too poor to afford any form of access to technology and/or internet, or be that airtime in mobile devices. And this was one of the main challenges faced by schools when implementing distance learning systems during the COVID-19 lockdown. And apart from the basic ICT modules, digitalization only arrived in the selected schools with the COVID-19 pandemic, where different methods were put in place, such as WhatsApp and Facebook platforms were used to interact with students and provide them with learning materials. We'd also note that also in some cases, radio was used. Next slide, please. However, even though context prevents these TVET schools to take on full advantage of the fourth industrial revolution, especially due to the lack of infrastructure and funding, the objectives of this development was to support the schools in laying the foundations and helping them to prepare rollout of a comprehensive and integrated digital transformation strategy. Next slide. In terms of the actions, the schools have undertaken a range of activities, such as participating in Digi thematic webinars, which aim to support the teachers and strengthen their capacity into integrating digital technologies into the education. Secondly, participating in workshops and learning pills, with the aiming of helping them to get to know the tools better. For example, title of Assessment of Digital Readiness of Teachers in Schools, Selfie, and digitally innovative school. And thirdly, the piloting of the self-assessment tool Selfie, which was not only for teachers, but for everyone at the schools. Next slide, please. So in the following slides, we will look at some of the results of the Selfie assessment. So firstly, we'd like to highlight the completion rates. The first table shows that in IP Nakala, one school leader, 2 teachers, and 34 students completed the Selfie assessment. We see that it's not just for teachers, it's for everyone at the school. And in Connect, 2 school leaders, 4 teachers, and 2 students completed the Selfie assessment. We'd like to point out that in both schools, only around 26 to 30% of teaching time was using digital technologies in the past 3 months. And of course, we recognise that there's a lot of work to be done to improve this figure in the future. Next slide, please. And regarding to the students' use of technologies both in and out of school, students are using technology for around 1 hour per day, whether that is for schoolwork and homework, outside learning, or simply for fun. However, in the case of Connect, we see that students are using technology more for fun than for learning. Next slide, please. Here we see the factors that are inhibiting the use of technology. We are seeing that there are common factors, which include a lack of funding, insufficient digital equipment, and in the case of the Nakala school in Mozambique, they're also struggling with an unreliable or slow internet connection. Yet in South Africa, we see that where there is a more developed internet infrastructure, we see different issues arising, such as low digital competency of both teachers and students. Of course, that's not to say that Mozambique isn't struggling with the issue of digital competency, but without there being a strong base of a solid internet connection, this may be interpreted as a secondary issue. Next slide, please. Lastly, we would like to look at the factors that are negatively affecting this blended learning. Again, we see the issues of limited student access to reliable internet connection and devices persisting. So that is all of our assessment of the Selfie. And we would like to stress that despite these structural challenges, participation in the Digi group has been extremely beneficial for schools, especially for school leaders and teachers, and it's given them the opportunity to attend and learn from rich webinars and learning pills about digital pedagogies and tools. Next slide, please. Lastly, I'd like to mention the diary, which has been mentioned previously, that was used to keep a record of the progress and activities completed under this initiative. Next slide. Thank you so much for the space for allowing us to share our work in the Digi initiative. It's been such a pleasure to be part of such an innovative webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridget, for your presentation. So we have very practical results, and it's good to see that thanks to this initiative, they were doing some really practical steps, and it was, as I said at the beginning, completely in line with the first presentations that we had in the starting session. And thank you also for the diary, because we want to keep everything under control. Last but not least, we have here Ahad Kazimov, who will present UNEC, the organization which is involved. Then we can also say some words about the results of the efforts during the development project. But please, Ahad, you can say something about the organization UNEC.
Hi, Roberto. Thank you very much for hosting me and giving opportunity to make the presentation. And as we agreed, I will give information about UNEC and information about our Lifelong Learning Center. Can I put it on the screen, my presentation?
Yes, please. I think you can share it.
Oh, just a second. Oh, can you see it?
Yes.
Wonderful. Yes, so UNEC, it's an Azerbaijan State University of Economics, and it was founded in 1930. It's one of the largest higher education institutions in the Southern Caucasus. We have more than 18,000 students studying on 22 specialties. We have more than 1,000 teachers, and this is included 77 professors and 326 assistant professors. And also we have more than 850 foreign students and representing 12 countries. Mission of our Lifelong Learning Center is to expand industry opportunities and foster community interest in lifelong professional and personal development by providing quality and innovative learning opportunities. And on our next slide, I would like to see the directions in which we are operating. This is B2B cooperation. It's mainly with state organizations. I can mention State Employment Agency. I can mention other state organizations for whom we are providing some services. And also we're doing certificate programs, as you can see, B2C from to customers, to direct customers. Also soft skills, we are regularly providing trainings on soft skills for teachers, for students, for like everyone, let's say, like who even sending, we have some requests. So whenever we get requests, so we're providing the training. Also, we are providing language courses for international students. For international students, we're studying at our university, and international students we're studying in other universities in Azerbaijan. There, we're providing courses on Azerbaijani, Russian and English languages. Also, we have mini MBA program and language center. Yes, so here you can see on this slide our partners with the Ministry of Science and Education of the Republic of Azerbaijan. There is a Sapir College from Israel, State Deployment Agency, Minister of Economy of Azerbaijan Republic. Also, I would like to say that last year we established a Bloomberg Financial Laboratory. It's very, you know, it's very innovative center, and which providing opportunities for students and for teachers to learn more about economics, about financial markets. Here we listed several topics that students can learn by attending this center. It's fundamental and technical analysis, asset management, portfolio management, investment management. About like 150 students already went through the trainings or education process in that center, and 10 instructors working at this center. Also, it will really help to improve financial literacy among students, and we are actively looking for to attract people outside of university to provide this type of trainings for people or companies or governmental sector that outside from our university they can approach us. We had the soft skills. First of all, we had the TOT provided by Israeli professionals. About 30 instructors went through the trainings, and out of them 10, we selected 10 trainers, and they provided trainings for about 500 people. Among these 500 people, 400 people were teachers of UNEC, and 100 people were students. So we provided soft skills training for about 500 people. I mean, this is quite a big number. Also, we have a mini MBA program. As you see, the courses that we have that we're providing for this MBA course, mini MBA course. It's a project management school, digital marketing, data management, HRM, marketing management, supply chain management, leadership, healthcare management as well. And we are really glad to work to collaborate with European Training Foundation, these steps. And thank you very much for Roberto, for Marta, for Filipa, and also would like to mention also where Lifelong Learning Center became a member of ETF's Excellence for Network, member of that network. So we are trying to get our best from this collaboration. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you, Ahad. And now Marta will say also some words about the work done by UNEC during the last months.
Thank you very much, Ahad. And I can confirm that we had a very, very nice collaboration with UNEC and with Ahad and with Calendar. So first of all, we started with a short analysis of the situation. So we wanted to know which are the needs actually of this center. So this is the list of the needs. So we focus on the improvement of the knowledge of the teachers, and we focused on finding new tools and methodologies for teaching and learning. I will show you very quickly because we don't have time. So also UNEC, you participated in the webinars, in the workshops, and then you piloted the training focusing on build of bits. And in this case, we showed during a webinar a nice program called Build with Bits, and then we linked this with the needs of your center. So this is a program which is using the potential of immersive teaching, using Mozilla Hubs, which is an open source tool for creating virtual reality, virtual environments, and so on. So also teachers can use it to structure the lesson, to structure the training. You can use it for conferences, you can use it for virtual exhibitions, and so on. So in this case, we link the approach, which is immersive teaching, with the tool called Mozilla Hubs Virtual Environments. And this was, let's say, the core of our activity. And your team went through the training, and the training and the learning never stops, we know. So we, of course, hope that this will continue and you will also use it inside your center in the continuous way. So thank you again. This is the how it looks in the practice, these hubs. And I hope, of course, to have the chance to collaborate in the future and so on. So also your team was very, very active in searching for new, for networking, searching for new tools, methods, methodologies, and so on. So it was a very, very positive cooperation from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marta. I would like to take the opportunity to say that UNEC also presented a proposal specifically on upskilling of adults' digital competences. Our decision was to not work on it as a development project, because we thought the project was very interesting and we wanted to put more resources and to work on it starting from this year. So we have actually transformed it into a new, bigger project. We just had a very interesting peer learning activity with Latvia on how Latvia is approaching the topic of adults' digital upskilling. Just to mention that the proposal was so interesting that we decided to work on it in a different context. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we came to the conclusion. I would like to thank again all the contributors, the speakers, and all those who participated from the development projects and described the steps they took during these last months of collaborating together. And I'm happy to see that everybody was happy of this collaboration, because as we said, there was no any budget to use, but it was mainly based on mutual efforts and collaboration in order to try to do something using the tools and methodologies that we have provided. So really big thank, also big thank for being here and presenting to us your advancements from this point of view. Maybe we can launch this last Mentimeter, because we were curious about what you have learned during these 2 hours and a half together. If you are bringing home something that it will be helpful for you for your daily work in the future. So of course we would like to being evaluated from this point of view, if this was really useful for you personally and professionally. And so feel free to go to Menti and leave your feedback here. Filippo, would you like to conclude in the meantime, to say some words?
Yes. Well, first of all, there won't be like a monologue of conclusions, because there was not the right context and we didn't want to bore you with a long speech. We learned a lot during this project, and all this learning from our side through your contribution, and of course through all the speakers, will be summarized in an article that we will include in the NA annual publication. You will all have access to it. As soon as it's published, you will receive a link. I will also say that Digi NA is finishing, but we don't stop here. We are, as just mentioned, experimenting on a new topic. So moving from initial education to continuing education. How do Center of Excellence address the topic of adults' digital competence upskilling? We are using Azerbaijan as an experiment to work on this topic. There will be 2 webinars this year. You will be invited dealing on this topic. So, and in 2024, we are planning to launch a new initiative, probably addressing adults' digital upskilling. It's going to be called Digi NA Lifelong Learning. So again, thanks to Ahad and Calendar for giving us the idea. Last but not least, let me remind again everybody that everything is accessible on our portal. So these previous webinars, the learning pills, there's going to be a lot of content. Going through your comments, I'm glad that some of you have noticed the novelty of this mentoring proposal. I was also very interested by it. So again, thank you very much for the speakers. Excellent example. So I thank you very much for appreciating the work that we have done, and then the speaker has done. They've done the work. Steps, of course, for setting up the agenda, identifying this topic. Apart from these, I would like to take this opportunity, since it's the last webinar, to thank you very much the Digi NA team, which is Loretta, Enea, and myself, of course. Steps, which has been basically the ones doing most of the job. So I would like to thank Roberto, Marta, the whole team. Thank you very much. I think it was in all webinars, the contribution were absolutely top level. It was really interesting for me and also learning experience for me, despite working on this area and being an expert in this area. I would like to thank all the experts providing input today and in the other webinars. Special thanks to the experts who provided input several times. This is extremely very much appreciated. I would like to thank the interpreters of today, of course, and Tree for the technical support. All the webinars were run perfectly. And I really hope that I'm going to see you again in the upcoming webinars. One is going to be in June and the other is going to be in the second part of the year. Roberto, if you want to say also a few words from your side.
Oh, thank you, Filippo, for your nice words. Very much appreciated. Of course, for us, it was a pleasure as well. I think it was a very nice path together because we have collaborated building something more or less from the scratch. So we had an idea in mind, but then we had a lot of calls. We had a lot of meetings in order to create kind of plan that we have followed and sometimes adapted to the needs. But I think it was very nice to create this together. And so especially in the case of the webinar, of course, we were collaborating with some ideas and providing ideas for possible speakers and contributors. And with the development project, which was also a great experience because we had the chance to know new people and to collaborate with them. And I think there was also in this case very strong efforts from different sides, in spite of the possible challenges. Because of course, when you mainly work on a voluntary basis, like in the case of development projects, then of course you have to take it into consideration. So I think it was a great adventure for all of us. And I'm also happy to see that most participants stayed until the end of this long webinar, because we still have almost 60 participants. In some cases, we also had more than 100 participants, and I think that for the webinars nowadays, it's a very great result. So I would like to thank all the participants also for the questions and for their interest. What I hope more is, of course, that this could be really helpful for everybody. So I think that during this last 1.5 years, we provided a lot of examples, a lot of materials and resources. So I hope that people can take inspiration from these examples, from these instances, and replicate in their countries, in their organizations.
Thank you very much again to everybody. And I think, and we need to take a photo. So I would kindly ask you to switch on your camera. This is smile. This is as a mandatory, yeah. This is mandatory step we have to take. It's always nice. It's always nice to see the faces, even if your connection is bad. It's just one photo. And you give us the green light. Okay. Welcome. Done? Excellent. Thanks again. Thanks again for coming, and I wish you the best for continuation of your working week.
And of course, we keep in touch for the next programs, next initiatives, and also for the next steps of the development projects.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.